arrest preachers, you arrest pastors. You took an oath. You're no better than the Nazis.
I know, come on, you'll get stopped on Nazi.
You're sick. You know that? You.
Hey, don't resist.
No, he's not resisting.
Stand up.
No.
I'm not resisting. You are a Nazi, do it the Nazi style.
I don't know how they could arrest somebody for protesting under that. It should have resulted in public health order violations, the tickets that are about $1,200 or whatever they are at this point.
So at worst, it seems like perhaps there could have been a ticket, I believe, for not wearing a mask at a protest. That theoretically could have happened. Instead, what happened is they set up this bogus check stop, seemingly. They tried to charge him with half a dozen things, and none of them stuck. And now, seemingly arbitrarily and seemingly with some malice, they're finding one thing that they're trying to get to stick. That's what it seems like for me as an outside observer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say, what the police are doing or thinking, if they're motivated by malice or not. Obviously, I don't have that, and I don't want to put that out there. But certainly it makes very little sense to me.
Warning, censorship.
Adam Sose here for Rebel News, and I am joined by Sarah Miller, the legal counsel who has been working on behalf of Pastor Artur Pawlowski throughout all 3 of his dramatic arrests. All these arrests stemming from him daring to open his church and serve the poor throughout COVID-19. We wanted to make sure that we brought you the correct legal details as to the basis for this most recent arrest. Many outlets out there have been providing questionable and inaccurate information that has been redacted. We're now bringing you the information straight from the source, straight from Pastor Artur Pawlowski's legal counsel, provided at no cost to him, thanks to your donations at saveartur.com. Sarah Miller of JSS Barristers. Sarah, can you tell us what happened? What was the cause of this arrest? I know there's a lot of confusion.
So, there's a lot of confusion because I think the police were even confused. Artur was first stopped for a breathalyzer test. They set up a breathalyzer stop right outside, or right down the street from where they had been protesting. Why, I have no idea. There didn't seem to be any indication of any drinking at the protest. Obviously, there was no impaired driving charges laid. Then they said that they were arresting him for mischief and charged and cautioned him for that. Then it was mischief and trespass. Neither of those charges were laid. Ultimately, eventually, they said, breach of probation. Charge for breach of probation was not laid. And so the police were confused. I think all that confusion then led to Artur being confused, David being confused, as both of them were arrested for all these mixed up charges. What ultimately the cops decided they could charge Artur and David with was the breach of Justice Rook's excuse me, it's very cold out here, Justice Rook's order. So your viewers might remember Justice Rook's order was issued way back in May when we were having the lockdown rodeos and other events being held by Christopher Scott and Whistle Stop in Glencarrot. That order was issued on May 6th. Artur and David were arrested under that order on May 8th. It was then revised on May 13th. For all intents and purposes, I understood that order, because of those revisions that were obtained by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, would no longer apply to regular Albertans anymore. It was way more specific. They took out the language independently to like effect. So you had to be Christopher Scott, Whistle Stop, Glencarrot, or acting under their instructions or acting in concert with them. Very clearly, the January 1st protest is not under those people's instructions or in concert with them. This is a wholly different event 7 months later after that order has been issued, and now that's what the police have arrested him for, a breach of Justice Rook's order.
And many people out there, I don't know if you've had a chance to confirm this, but are under the impression that that order is revised. These Flames games, these massive events, so many gatherings that have taken place would result in mass arrests if that Rook order was still in effect. Why is it, after all this confusion, suddenly being enforced now?
So I can't tell you why it's being enforced. It honestly baffles me. I don't have full disclosure yet. I only have a very limited bail package that we reviewed, Mr. Haggerty and I reviewed prior to the bail hearing. So it's very uncertain why the police believe that that order is something that they can arrest under. The order itself, it indicates a few different things, but really is quite narrow. I don't know how they could arrest somebody for protesting under that. It should have resulted in public health order violations, the tickets that are about $1,200 or whatever they are at this point.
So at worst, it seems like perhaps there could have been a ticket, I believe, for not wearing a mask at a protest. That theoretically could have happened. Instead, what happened is they set up this bogus check stop, seemingly. They tried to charge him with half a dozen things, and none of them stuck. And now, seemingly arbitrarily and seemingly with some malice, they're finding one thing that they're trying to get to stick. That's what it seems like for me as an outside observer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say, what the police are doing or thinking, if they're motivated by malice or not. Obviously, I don't have that, and I don't want to put that out there. But certainly it makes very little sense to me. I have no idea what the impetus of this was. We're working on finding out if Rook's order is even in place. There's certain information that I've received that it was struck from the court. I'm waiting to hear from the court. That will take a few weeks, but I'm waiting to hear from the court if it was indeed struck. And in that case, I mean, this charge has to go away, but in the meantime, they're facing now criminal charges for holding a protest outdoors without a mask.
And finally, it's freezing cold, so we'll get out of here in no time. But finally, there's already been an appeal sort of victory, and we are going to have appeals for the sanctions for the first sort of contempt order on the Rook order. With those appeal processes pending and questions as to how this would carry out, is it problematic that they're once again attempting to apply charges on the Rook order when it's currently in the appeals process?
Well, as your viewers will probably remember, Artur has already been charged criminally as well. Back when he got arrested at the airport, that's a criminal charge for contempt of the same Rook order. The Crown has adjourned that to February. They haven't screened it for trial time. It seems to be moving through that process very slowly through the criminal court system. So we'll see. I don't know. The police and the Crown, they're not always operating under the same, thought process, right? Yeah. So we'll see what happens if the Crown decides they want to pursue this or not once they have the disclosure in place and once they have a chance to look at it.
Well, thanks so much for the update. We're going to keep in touch and bring everyone updates as they unfold and as we discover more about the situation. For the folks out there, it is very, very clear and apparent that even in 2022, Pastor Artur Pawlowski has the fight of his life ahead of him. And thanks to your donations at SaveArtur.com, JSS Barristers and Sarah Miller will be fighting for Pastor Artur Pawlowski. I just want to remind you, if you can make a donation at SaveArtur.com, all of those funds go to the Democracy Fund. That's a registered Canadian charity, so you're going to receive a tax receipt for chipping in and standing in solidarity with Pastor Artur Pawlowski. As always, thanks so much for the update, and for everyone out there, thanks for watching. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Sos.
We have been arrested again. We spent 24 hours in jail, and we're facing 3 more charges, believe it or not. So if you're willing, go to SaveArtur.com, and if you can chip in, please do. We have fantastic lawyers. They saved us before, and I know they're going to do everything in their power to save us again. Stay strong. Don't give up. And look at us. Even though the government is persecuting and prosecuting us left and right, we're still standing and we're fighting for you as well every single day. And we promise you we'll not stop doing what is right. Be blessed.